welcome or welcome back to my little corner of the internet. And this week we are back at reviewing TV shows. Yay! Well, not TV shows. It's a Netflix show, but you know what I mean, right? It's an episodic thing. Hooray! Let's go. So we will be talking about KAOS, which I'm very excited about because you may or may not know this about me, but I love Greek mythology. This isn't something I've been obsessed with since I was a child, but I have always enjoyed it. And in recent years, I've gotten more and more and more into it. I was it during COVID? Maybe, probably. Discovered a podcast that was talking about Greek mythology, and I just dived deeper and deeper and deeper. And then Stephen Fry's books came out, or I discovered them more than they came out, and I'm obsessed with them, and I go back to them, by which I mean audiobooks, because you gotta hear Stephen Fry talk. But basically, I was a huge Xena the Warrior Princess fan. I also watched Hercules, and I think I even watched Young Hercules, you know, the one with Ryan Gosling as Hercules. Anyway, all of this to say that I love it. And I love the stories, I love the chaos, the drama, the soap opera-ness of it.
I love this.
Oh my god, it's great. So, yeah, having said that, I think we know that the track record for movies based on Greek mythology, the track record is not spotless, we'll say. Over the summer, I had the absolute misfortune of watching the 2014 disastrous Dwayne Johnson-led Hercules. That was painful. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Anyway, then, after I was wallowing in self-pity, being like, why can't we have nice things and all of that, Netflix came out with a show, KAOS. And I was watching the trailer for it, and I saw that they had Jeff Goldblum as Zeus. So, yeah, I had to watch it. And, spoiler alert, I loved it. It's great. It's really cool. So, for those of you who haven't watched the show, KAOS is an 8-episode series that uses a bunch of stories and characters from Greek mythology, but in a modern setting. And it's not 2024. There are no cell phones, but it's not ancient times either. It's like a alternate universe timeline, basically. Our narrator is Prometheus, and in our god characters, we have Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Dionysus, Hades, and Persephone. And then for our human characters, we have Eurydice, Orpheus, Caeneus, and Ariadne. There are other characters as well, like Cassandra, Medusa, and Theseus, but they have much smaller roles to play. So yes, the show kind of intertwines a whole bunch of those stories, and it's great because that's kind of how those stories are anyway, right? The timeline in Greek mythology, like all the stories kind of, on the one hand, take place decades apart, but then still have the same characters. So it makes sense that everything would be completely mishmashed. The story in the show kind of takes place a few years after the fall of Troy, and the Trojans are then marked with like a tattoo on their nose, and they live in complete segregation in Crete. And as I mentioned before, the story is narrated by Prometheus, and he mentions to us, the watchers, that we're going to be watching the downfall of the gods, and how in order to do that, we need to meet 3 humans. And then we go through the stories as the episodes progress. We go through the stories of those humans and how they entangle themselves because of a prophecy. You see, in the KAOS universe, every human gets a prophecy, and every prophecy is unique. But our humans all have the same prophecy. While our humans are going through their adventures, we also follow Zeus and the other gods, but mainly Zeus, as they kind of obsess over making sure that they are still honored and revered by the humans. And then things happen. Overall, I found this show very refreshing, engaging, and just a great time. I think the acting was good, and the interpretation of the stories and characters was really interesting. I love how they separated the different lands. So Olympus is very bougie, kind of tacky, Hollywood Beverly Hills-y, and then the human realm is very grimy, dirty, but very real for humans. And then the land of the dead is in black and white. I thought it was very, very cool. You get a very clear distinction of every surface. And I also really liked the nods to other myths as well. I do think that Medusa was done dirty though. She definitely deserved better, and I do wish we could have seen other gods too. Hopefully, maybe in season 2. Nothing has been announced yet. I'm hoping for the best. I would like to talk about Orpheus and Eurydice though, but that would have some spoilers, so be warned. If you haven't watched the show, I'm gonna dive in from now. So in the original story, Eurydice doesn't really have agency. We're told she and Orpheus were madly in love and that she tragically died. Then the whole story is about how Orpheus went to rescue her, and his music was so beautiful and sad that he managed to convince Persephone to let Eurydice go, but she had to stay 10 steps behind Orpheus the whole way out of the underworld, and if Orpheus looks back, she will be stuck in the underworld forever. They make their way out, but in his excitement, Orpheus doesn't notice that Eurydice has fallen behind, so when he gets out of the underworld, he looks back and she hasn't gotten out yet, so she gets stuck in, lost forever. Really, really sad and tragic, and I just gave you a huge disservice by just reading it this way, but I needed to get the whole story quickly because we're gonna look at the KAOS version here. But basically, what I'm trying to say here is that Eurydice doesn't really do anything in the original myth. In KAOS, Eurydice, or Riddy as she is known in our universe, she has all of the agency. We find out very quickly that she doesn't actually love Orpheus anymore because he no longer treats her like a human. Not in the dehumanizes her and beats her or anything like that, but she is his muse in every way, and so he needs her. But this means that when she dies, Orpheus goes on this whole quest without actually knowing that she was about to leave him. Kind of adds a whole new layer of tragedy, which is a very Greek thing to do, right? The whole concept of tragedy when it comes to Greek plays is that you know what's happening and the characters don't, and you're just watching it unfold and you can't stop it. And that's exactly what's happening here. We know that Orpheus is going to go through this entire journey, and in order to rescue Riddy, when in fact she might not have wanted to be rescued, and certainly not by him. And it's kind of heartbreaking to watch. It was just very, very, very interesting. I thought also that the interpretation of the end of the original story in the show was beautiful. Because Orpheus does indeed in the show go through all of the steps, and he does rescue Riddy, despite her not really wanting to be rescued and falling in love with another person, but she comes back to Earth with him, and instead of having her lost forever because she can't keep up, they are able to get back from the underworld. But then you have this scene where Riddy asks Orpheus to look at her, and he refuses. But finally, when he does, that's when they basically officially break up. So she is lost to him forever. And I thought it was really, really clever. It's such a little interesting twist where you still have this character that you've empowered, and for the sake of this new plot, she needs to be on Earth. So you can't play this going back to the underworld scene, but she is still lost to Orpheus specifically. There are a bunch of other cool adaptations that in other movies I might not have liked, because it's in a way taking away part of the fantastical elements, which I think is usually the downfall of modern interpretation. Not modern, but like in the 2014 Hercules, it's all like the gods are not part of it. He's not a demigod or anything like that. He has a bunch of friends and they built the story around him. Similarly with Troy, with Brad Pitt, it's the gods have nothing to do with the story. So when you remove the fantastical elements of Greek mythology, I find it's usually lacking. But in KAOS, they kind of managed to toe a very, very careful line. For example, like the story of the Minotaur, Ariadne, and Theseus. I love how Theseus uses Ariadne and then abandons her for Astyanax, or Nax, which is basically what he does in the original story. Ariadne helps him, and then he abandons her on the island of Naxos. So in KAOS, instead of an island, Naxos, person. Ha 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 ha. Get it? It's clever. And in a realitification, which is now a word, of the Minotaur, I thought it was very clever how they did it, because the Minotaur story is messed up. So here they decided to keep things more grounded. You're not gonna have a half bull, half man monster that was created because his mother had, relations with a bull. Instead, you have this severely abused and neglected child that was raised to be a monster and then gets dressed like one. I thought that was a very good balance between reality and fantasy. We were able to go into fantasy, but some things we were able to pull back. Overall, I think that KAOS shows how you can really interpret and change Greek mythology while still showing love and appreciation for it, and understanding of the themes and what makes the stories great to begin with is where they shine. I really, really hope it gets a second season and that we'll get to see other stories brought to life. But what did you think? Have you watched KAOS? Do you like Greek mythology? I hope so. If you watch this whole video and you don't like it, that's a problem. But what is your favorite Greek myth? I'm asking you, but I have no idea what I would answer for that, genuinely. Whew. That's a tough question. I'm not sorry I'm asked. I'm very happy I asked, but I'm sorry I'm forcing you to make a decision. Clearly I'm forcing you. What is your favorite Greek myth, and also what is your favorite movie or TV show adaptation? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you so very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all of the things, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!